Pledge of
John,
Allegiance.
can you shut the front door for me? Thank you.
We have a flag line. Do we have a flag in?
We have a flag.
Jim, you used to have one. What did you do? Where's yours?
Yeah, I can
Hold
find
on.
one.
Yeah, there's a flag flying across the street out
Okay.
of my neighbor's backyard, so
I pledge
pretend you
allegiance
can see it. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag.
flag,
to the United States of
United
America,
States of America,
States of America,
and to
and to the
the
republic
republic
for
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the flag info. And Ann, will you please take roll?
Sure. Members present, Walter Genkars, John Parati, James Urbano, Steve Carroll, Jason Beach. Members not present, Abood Abdelghani, Zach Wilburn, and Thomas Scannell.
Yes. We have a quorum. All right. I don't know if we're getting used to this or not, but we'll start. First thing is public communications, 251 Talmadge Road, request for sewer connection. I know that we have some additional information that was sent to us to be put into the packet from AES, the letter from AES, Keith Erickson. Walt, if you want to just give us a brief
Sure.
overview of what this is.
Right. Okay, I had a call from Mr. and Mrs. Hertel, live at 251 Talmadge. That's directly across the street from Copper Beach, and which is served by sewers. They have a problematic septic system, that they've been in the house, I don't know, 30, 40 years, something of that line. And, they were hoping to be able to connect to the sewer. I did look at a couple documents and then went out to the site. One of them on the facilities plan, oddly enough, as though they're surrounded by sewers. Their parcel was not listed as a service area. However, they could, put a lateral in that would go directly across the street, connect into the sewer in the right of way, which is in Copper Beach. And, informed them that if they did that, they would have to get approval from them, to actually put the sewer in their easement, and that, that lateral would be totally theirs. It doesn't become public till it enters the existing sewer main. So, subsequent to that and the other information that was set, Keith Erickson from AES went out to the site, kind of, from a contractor standpoint, eyed up, what he thought would be needed to connect. And that's the sketch that's included in the supplemental information.
Right.
So let's say it's basically going from the west side of Talmadge, crossing Talmadge into the right of way, and that's where the sewer is, and it would connect into the sewer. Certainly, it's an existing house, problematic septic system, sewers nearby. I mean, I would recommend that, that they'd be allowed to go into the sewer. And again, the lateral would have to be constructed at their own funds, and it would be totally private. And they would pay a capacity fee for connecting.
I mean, they did address the potential of tying into the force main, but I don't think obviously if they can tie in by gravity, that would, not into the force main, it would be a lot better situation.
What force? I don't.
It said the plans to tie an existing manhole right away. WPCA would prefer we could tie into the force main with a saddle.
Yeah, well, it's not a force main. It's yeah, he actually has that incorrect. Tie it to the existing sewer with a saddle.
Okay.
It's a gravity sewer that goes down there. There
Okay,
isn't,
so I didn't look at it. All right.
yeah.
And
Okay.
they're connecting to a sewer line that exists on Talmadge.
Yeah, it's actually in the Copper Beach right away. They have a grassed area next to
Oh,
the
I
street.
see.
I'm
Yeah,
looking,
so
yeah.
it technically
Got it.
runs parallel to Talmadge,
Yep,
but in the
Yeah.
grassed area.
okay.
And, you know, so, I mean, if the commission agreed with that assessment, you know, I think that it could be handled, you know, administratively as far as, you know, if they choose to go ahead to get an actual drawing, you know, from a contractor that would show more detail and, you know, be handled that way.
I don't have any problem with that, and, you know, the other authority members, if they can chime in, I guess the question becomes, the town engineer's bandwidth to review and future plans, but that can be addressed separately.
I agree. I think it's a completely valid request for linking up to the sewer. So,
It's a hardship, you know, I mean, it's,
yep.
if any of us were in that situation, we'd want the same.
This is Jason Beach. I agree as well.
Jim, you okay? With Jim, any comments? Jim's got thumbs up. Jim gave us a thumbs up. So, yeah, I guess we can take that. We don't need any type of emotion or action on this. I don't believe, Walt.
I think just to memorialize it, you might want to make a motion that, you know, the facilities plan be amended to include this lot as a sewered property. You know, and I think it could be, and I think that would probably be helpful to have in the records.
And we'd want to have the lot number. I would want
250, it's lot 251 or
lot
251
Talmadge.
Talmadge. Yep.
Okay, let's make a stab at this.
So are we amending our map to include 251 Talmadge?
Right,
As a sewerable property, yeah.
yeah.
And that we, you know, discussed and see no problem with the connection. Right.
And we will not see any future applications. There's no feasibility application.
I don't see for a single house. I mean, you know, that can be just handled with a sewer connection permit, which is, you know, what they
Okay.
call
Now,
for
If
individual
it's not,
homes.
was there a assessment yet, or because it wasn't in an area, or what?
No, I mean, they'll have to pay a capacity fee, you
Okay.
know, because, you know, there wasn't an assessment.
Right.
Do we know how long that sewer line that runs parallel to Talmadge has been in there? I realize that's kind of a bizarre question, but
Hang on, I can tell you. I can tell you when the plan was. Let's see. The plan for that site. uh,
1980.
November 2000,
November 2000.
Alona McBroom, Talmadge Crossing. Who knows? Maybe Ryan. Let's see if I see Ryan's name on this somewhere. No, he's not that old.
so we would
Ryan would
not
have been
have
like
any,
5. Ryan's a young guy.
Go ahead.
any,
Steve.
any sewer assessments that we might have had back then would have been paid in full by now.
Yeah, well, that would have been built by the developer.
Borne by the developer? Okay.
And even that, there's like a 10-year look back, so we're outside that area, so.
Okay, I just want to make sure nobody's got a gripe with, you know,
Come back
any
out.
sort of assessments.
Very good point, Carol. All right, so Steve, you want to make a motion? You're good at that.
Sure, as long as Walter would tell me the map, the name, the official name of the map where,
251 Talmadge, I think, right?
Yep, hang on. The town of Cheshire sewage facilities map.
okay, so I make a motion to amend the town of Cheshire's sewer facility map to include 251 Talmadge Road as sewerable property.
I second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion or amendments? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Vote passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for the Patels for attending.
Yep.
If you would
And
like,
just
we can hang
As
up.
far as, I mean, I assume they can hear, but, their next step, obviously, if they were choose to go ahead with the sewer, is to, get a contractor, get a little more detailed plan, and then he'd have to apply for a sewer connection permit, which is,
And,
they're
and to work
pretty
with the town
familiar
building
with.
department for that.
Yeah, people are pretty familiar with that, so.
All right.
Okay, all right.
There you go. Item number 1, finished public communications. Next, we have 2 applications. First one is Counterweight Brewery, 7 Diana Court. There's information in your packet, and is there any?
Kind of, I was just wondering, John, if counterweight's not on yet, do we want to reverse the order
Is
of these?
Counterweight on?
Counterweight is on.
Oh, they are. Okay,
Yeah, I
sorry.
thought they were.
Okay,
So,
fine.
Counterweight on, that would be, we would like to hear their presentation, I guess.
Okay, I'll start off if that's okay. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Mylona McBroom. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Counterweight Brewing. This application is for feasibility to connect sanitary sewer to a new brewery at 7 Diana Court. This particular site is currently occupied by a small industrial office building. It's the first building on the right-hand side, or the west side of Diana Court when you come off of East Johnson Avenue. The property is slightly irregularly shaped. It follows rather north to south trajectory. The dominating feature, at least from a restrictive perspective on the property, is a 50-foot wide gas easement, and with 2 gas mains traversing the site from north to south, roughly parallel to Diana Court. There is sewer in Diana Court presently, and the existing building is connected to sanitary sewer. And what the applicant's proposing to do is to utilize the existing building for office space primarily, and to construct a roughly 20,000 square foot new brewery to the south of the existing building, where there's right now fill piles and some earthwork, ongoing earthwork, and connect both buildings to a new sanitary sewer lateral connection in Diana Court that would be outside of the gas easement in its entirety. So we're trying to avoid, to the extent possible, work within the gas easement because of the restrictions imposed by the gas, by the easement. But at the end of the day, we can achieve gravity sewer for both the existing building and the proposed building. The proposed building will include a tap room with some limited kitchen facilities. The specifics of that have not exactly been worked out, but we do anticipate that there will be some food preparation on site. But the majority of the water usage or sewage generation would result from the brewing operation itself. In order to estimate what we expect might enter into the system, we have their current operations in Hampden as a very good resource to determine how much water they use presently. And based on some of their more recent water usage bills, we estimate that the water usage currently is in the 5,000 to 6,000 gallons per day range. And based on Counterweight's estimates, up to 1/3 of that number in terms of water usage goes out the can or the barrel in terms of their products. And they do expect that in this new facility, which will be larger than the current one, that they envision a roughly 1/3 increase in their business, in their output. So in order to estimate what we expect they might be generating for sewage, we simply took their historical water usage data or recent water usage data and multiplied it by 1 1/3 to arrive at approximately 8,000 gallons a day. And we did not take any reductions for what they expect would go out in the can and the barrel in terms of their product. So we do feel reasonably confident that the 8,000 gallons per day would represent the upper limit of what they would expect to see at the site. To to compare apples to apples, the property that they operate out of presently does have all their office space, their tap room, and their brewing facilities in one building. So the water usage is sort of comprehensive, all-inclusive of what they use today. So that's the basic summary of what we propose in terms of the site plan. It's really pretty straightforward in terms of how we connect to the sewer itself in Dynacourt. And we did receive some comments from Walt. I believe that they are all items that can be handled at the next step, the final application of water capacity. And I also understand that one of the gentlemen from the treatment plant did have some questions about the nature of the discharge from the brewing process. And I thought that perhaps Matt from Counterweight could be in a position to lend some insight as to what generally goes out of the equipment from the brewing process. Is that something that you can add some insight into, Matt?
Sure. So most of what we discharge is from cleaning processes. What we have to do day to day requires us to be sanitary and make sure that our food product is clean and safe for consumption. And as a result, we are essentially using a good amount of water to clean our tanks, and that's most of what goes down the drain. That's food grade iodine at a pretty high dilution rate. So we're looking at about a tablespoon per gallon in order to accomplish sanitary procedures for what we do day to day. And as a result, we don't see really any real issue here in Hamden, and I'm not sure what you guys have concerns about regarding most of that discharge.
This is Walt, and yeah, Scott Halyer's the superintendent of the water pollution control plant, and I had discussed these projects with him the other day. Subsequent to that, he had sent me an email. He wasn't, frankly, that familiar with, we don't have any other breweries tied into our system, or at least none that we know of. And so he had done some reading on it, and his concern was, the possibility of, either high BOD or high suspended solids discharges, that could be, or fluctuations, very high or low pHs, say from acid cleaning or something of that order. So, I think, that was his concern. What I discussed with him is that, from a feasibility standpoint, this is a building that's already connected to the sewer. Actually, the good news is it actually would be connected directly into the northerly interceptor, which would, be coming from basically the discharge from West Johnson Pump Station. But, he does feel that, when prior to the final design and award of capacity coming in, that, he'd want to see more information as far as the nature of the discharge. And specifically, I think, his concerns, as I said, were suspended solids, high BODs, that put or fluctuations in the pH. So as far as, that's what he'll be looking for at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think, any information, Matt, you have from your Hamden, I don't know if you have any pre-treatment facilities in place there, or how you handle, say while you're flushing out the tanks and stuff, some of the, the heavier loads of solids that might come from something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do some high dilution. Anytime we do have something like we're using sodium hydroxide with a high pH, the yeast being at a pH around 4, thankfully counterbalances that. So we have kind of some timing that we try to plan to be as effective as possible on that side of things. And as we get further down the line, we can certainly gather some more data to share with you.
So I guess I have a question. Are you collecting it by batch before you discharge it once, or is this a continuous discharge during the cleaning process?
We're brewing essentially 4 times a day. It would probably be a little less in the new facility with different equipment. So it would be 1 tank being cleaned per day. So it'd be one discharge per day for the most part.
And about roughly how many gallons would that be?
It would really depend on scheduling and batch size. Anywhere up to about 90 gallons of diluted iodophor for cleaning purposes. And then as far as other discharge, we're talking probably in the 30 to 40 gallon range for other cleaning purposes throughout the facility.
Okay. I mean, from my perspective, obviously, this is the first step, which is feasibility, and then when we get to the next level, we may be more detailed pieces of information we may be asking for, maybe a go around on that also. Ryan, obviously, you can help them out with that too. And I think what we may want to do is just reach out to some surrounding municipalities to see, to garner what effect does it have on any of these treatments.
I'm having a little hard time understanding you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you are? Okay, I'm sorry. Is that any better?
That is better, yes.
Okay. What I was saying is, since this is really just the feasibility portion of the application, when we get to the next step, we'd be looking for some more details. And maybe what the authority should do is to reach out to our surrounding municipalities to see and collect information on the effect of discharge of breweries to their waste treatment plants, and if there's anything that we need to be aware of from an operation of the plant perspective.
I think too, the quantification, Ryan and Matt, as far as what you just talked about, when you break down this 8,000 gallons, how much is from, cleaning, batch discharges, how much of that sounds like the majority of it's going to be probably from the tap room, et cetera. So
Well, you mentioned also food preparation, FOG, those types of things.
Right. And obviously, depending on the food preparation, I mean, you may end up being there with a, oil water separator or something, automatic grease unit, something of that order. And once you get to that point, but as far as, from a feasibility standpoint, like I say, there's a 12-inch main that goes right by their front door. They'd be connecting directly into that. I do mention that, it would be, an increase in the capacity. So there would be a capacity fee charge. And again, Ryan, when you're kind of getting to that, Ryan and Matt, in the final design, you can certainly include, like I say, under the regulations, we do allow for a subtraction meter to be put in at the owner's expense for, the water that actually goes into the product. So if you're using 500 gallons a day to go into the product, you don't have to pay a capacity fee on that. Or you don't even, or basically future annual sewer bills are based upon water usage. So if you want to certainly take the credit for, what you're not flushing down the sewer.
Okay, any other questions from authority members? Steve, you're a beer connoisseur.
No, I don't. I mean, you guys, I think expressed very clearly. I mean, before we get to final, it's kind of like it would be good to know, like, what are we flushing that we wouldn't normally see, and if there's any unusual, if it's one big flush versus equal flushes during the day, those kind of things would be helpful information.
And we can certainly get that together for you.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else, Walt?
Nope.
Nope. Jim, anything from you? Jason?
Jason, you still there?
Maybe he's trying to hook up by, he just left. Maybe he's trying to hook up by a video now, and I know he might want to try to get in.
Okay. Well, since we've got to make a motion, we might as well wait for him to get back.
Yeah, actually, we need him.
Is anybody in the waiting room, Ann?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of need them to.
We do.
What I'll do is I can give him a call, Walter, too.
Yeah, just because they need a fourth person to.
We need 4. We need number 4.
He was here.
He was.
I'm here, Walt, if you need me.
Oh, okay, you don't appear somewhere, so,
Yeah,
okay.
you came off our screen. That was weird.
Here he is. He's coming back right now. There we go.
There he is.
There we go. Hi, Jason.
There you are.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Okay.
Mobile.
Now, you can't drive and hold a Zoom meeting at the same time, Jason.
Yeah. All right, well, Jim, even though you're on twice, you can't make two.
I got,
Okay, I was gonna say, only one Jim looks alive.
Well, you said you needed a fourth. So,
Looks like Jason's coming in and out. All right, well, I think we can make a motion. This is feasibility.
There he is.
Yeah,
Um,
I would like to make a motion to approve the application for feasibility approval for the extension of public sanitary sewers to Counterweight Brewery, 7 Diana Court.
Okay,
Total
second?
estimated capacity at 8,000.
second, this
gallons
is
per day.
Jason.
Okay, seconded by Jim. Again, this is really just a feasibility. So, any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody, all who are here virtually have approved this. So appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Counterweight, we'll be looking forward to seeing some information in the next step.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, we can move on to the next brewery, Cheshire Craft Brewery application, 125 Commerce Court, unit number 7. Ryan?
Yeah.
Keep moving on, I guess?
Yep. Okay, again, for the record, Ryan McAvoy, licensed professional engineer with Mylona McBroom, here on behalf of the applicants. So what the applicant's looking to do is to occupy a unit within the industrial building at 125 Commerce Court, unit number 7. There are 11 units within the building. Some businesses that are within the building occupy more than one unit, but the square footage of the unit they're looking to occupy is about 2,400 square feet, that range. So it's a bit of a smaller operation perhaps than what Counterweight Brewing was looking for approval for. With their application, they're going to be brewing on site. They're going to have a tap room and are also seeking approval for some limited outdoor seating in the rear of the building. The building is currently connected to sewer. It has a lateral that connects to a pump station, which then directs force main up to the sewer lateral right in Commerce Court. And in order to estimate the sewage flow, sewage generation from this project, we don't have exactly a history of water usage, say like Counterweight did. It's going to be a new business, a new operation. So what we're relying on are 3 potential sources of wastewater generation. The first being associated with the brewing process itself. And based on the capacity of what the applicant's looking to actually brew on the property, they estimate that no more than 620 gallons of wastewater a day would be generated as a result of the brewing operation. I had written my letter that I sent to Walt that we estimate that happened 3 to 4 times a week. It's actually going to be more like 2 days a week when the actual brewing process occurs. There'll be a small number of employees, so we allocated a small number of flow for employees on site. And then they'll also have the tap room. So clearly there's going to be some wastewater generation from the customers that come in and either sit outside or sit within the tap room itself. And there are upwards of 90 some odd patrons that could be allowed by building and fire code requirements. And applying some of the estimates from Metcalf and Eddy wastewater generation manuals for a bar or tavern, generally each customer would generate up to 2.5, 2.7 gallons per patron. So if every single seat is occupied in 2 different rounds over the course of a busy day, perhaps, you could have in the range of 500 gallons per day from the patron use of the building. There will be no cooking on site, no food processing on site. The applicant intends to perhaps have a food truck, but the preparation of food will not be part of the sewage generation from this site. So it's important also to note that it is not the intention of the applicant to be open for customer use in the tap room or for seating during days when they're brewing. The two don't really mix so well from the business perspective. So the primary generation on a daily basis, on a maximum basis rather, is the brewing operation along with the employees that will be present when the brewing occurs. So the range that we feel is an appropriate estimate for daily sewage generation is roughly 700 and change. So we understand from Walt's memo that that perhaps the final approval and water capacity might be able to be handled administratively since there's no new construction associated with this, but that we would have to evaluate the current pump station, pump chamber on site to make sure that the operations of the brewery don't overwhelm that pump, and that any modifications to the pump or changes to the sewer lateral might have to come back before the authority. Jamie Ferguson, who is with the applicant, is here with me. And I know Matt from Counterweight was able to lend some insight as to what they anticipate in terms of the nature of the wastewater from the cleaning process. Jamie, were you able to determine anything on your end or from your operations that would be perhaps different than what Matt had from Counterweight?
Well, we're going to operate at about 1/10 of the capacity, so not quite, not even close to the same scale of their distribution model versus our, small community service taproom model. But I think Ryan captured everything that we had thought through, and that those 2 days a week that we would have a higher capacity, it's still only about 700 gallons.
Right. And from my memos, they were pretty similar for both of these operations because they have kind of the same, even though they're different in size, obviously they have the same characteristics. The only thing I would say is that, subsequent, when I wrote my memo, Scott Hallier hadn't, responded about, his concerns. So I do think, in this case, it probably, would be good to kind of go the final design award of capacity route rather than administratively, only in the sense that, we should have a good sense as to how cleaning is done, what potential for other discharges are there. And, it can also be the summary of your existing lateral pump station, force main, the adequacy of that, because there are, like I say, there's 11 units occupied there or something of that order. So just want to make sure you're not overwhelming your individual building force main.
Yes, agreed. So, I think obviously there's not much the scale difference of what we have for the flows. And just to reinforce what Walt said, more detail on the characteristics of the discharge is what we're really want to get a firmer handle on. But I don't see any problem, obviously, with the feasibility next step. Other authority members, any comments?
Well, were you saying this could be handled administratively, i.e. without an application, or?
No, I originally, since it's already connected to the sewer, I thought that, we could just go feasibility in that, but in light of Scott's comments and in light of the way we're handling Counterweight, I think it would be best, to follow the
same way.
Same way.
Okay.
I mean, in fairness, it should be handled, even though it's different size. But as far as feasibility, yeah, it's already connected to the sewer. What this property does is it pumps up to up via force main and then gets into a gravity sewer in Commerce Court that then connects in Route 10.
Yep.
Okay,
Can I
so
ask a clarifying question? Are you looking for what is contained inside our wastewater that would be different possibly from what Counterweight had? Particles, or did I misunderstand you?
I mean, basically, I think what we're looking for is, when you got a breakdown of flows, obviously we're not looking for any further information on normal bathroom flows, et cetera. But just as far as for your cleaning processes of tanks, what chemicals are used for that,
there's a variety of different chemicals you can use. Are you using hot water? Are you using steam? Or what is the method you're using for sterilization of your tanks? Because that can vary between different facilities. So if you can help us to characterize that, that's going to give us a better idea of the effect that it's going to have on our wastewater treatment.
Did you want that clarification at this time?
No, I don't see that you need it at this time. I think, the purpose of the feasibility is to allow you to be able to move ahead through P&Z or whatever. And, the final design award of capacity, that information can come in at that point because, Ryan's got a little homework to do over there on the system and making sure you got adequate capacity in your tank and force main, et cetera.
May I ask if this body meets again in August?
Even better, they meet in July.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay, thank you.
I didn't hear that question. What was it?
So you want to know when you met? They meet every fourth
July-
Thursday.
July 22nd
Wednesday.
is the next meeting.
Oh, the meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
And
The fourth Wednesday of every month.
including
July,
August.
Including August.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Could
So
this
from
topic
a-
be tabled to the end of this meeting while you handle?
Now, the feasibility can be acted
No,
on now.
We
Yeah,
will,
we're-
we will handle the feasibility now. There's nothing, there's
Nothing that
nothing that's
holds
going to prevent us from approving this today. And any questions we have, or the town engineer may have of either yourself or Ryan, can be answered when you come back for final approval.
Okay,
even though it's already connected, it's a little bit of a change to what we're seeing being discharged. So we want to go through the normal process of,
okay.
ensuring that we're covering everything. But it's not
Okay.
going to you're not holding up your process at all. We're hoping.
And Jamie, the feasibility approval is adequate to get purposes of planning and zoning. So
Okay,
Indeed.
thank you.
we won't be
Okay,
held up on
all
that
right.
end.
All right, thank you.
All right. So, Steve,
Yeah, I
Your
would
Magic?
like to make a motion to approve the application for feasibility approval for extension of public sanitary sewers to Cheshire Craft Brewing, 125 Commerce Court, Unit 7, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote passes unanimously by the 4 members present. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jamie. Good
Ryan.
luck.
Thank you, Jamie. All right.
There we go.
Was the next item on the agenda is, we don't have any projects. Does the town engineer have the superintendent's report? Moving over to item 4.
Yeah, like I said, I was down the plant Monday morning. It's running very well. No issues with the plant or pump stations. Kind of one interesting sidelight, and it's funny because then I read an article in the paper that kind of indicated the same thing, but with this COVID and everybody working from home, actually the wastewater flows have gone up during the day. Typically in Cheshire, Cheshire doesn't have, it has office buildings, but not a ton of office buildings. So most people in Cheshire got up in the morning, took a shower and headed out to work in a different town and used water over there for the day. Well, now they're home and, they're cooking more and doing other stuff more. And he said, the flows come up and kind of stay up during the day. Kind of interesting. And I saw the same thing, You know, obviously RWA is kind of seeing the same thing as far as water usage is up. So no, it's not causing any issues, just kind of an observation.
I have, it is interesting, as a comment to that, I don't know if I discussed this last time, but we got some information that between March 19th and May 1st, there was samples taken of the sewage sludge at the New Haven facility. And what they found is that there was a viral load of COVID about seems to be 5 or 7 days, a detectable load before cases were actually reported. So they were able to detect in the sewage the viral load amount, and it very closely mirrored the number of COVID cases, but it was 5-7 days beforehand.
Is there regular testing going on either at the plant or where they deliver the sludge?
I don't know, but
for
actually,
COVID?
I'm going to share. Can I share my screen?
Yeah. Now this was a study that was being done at Yale, I believe.
Yeah, I saw Yale was working with New Haven on that flow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's from Yale New Haven Hospital. Yeah, I have the actual
We don't have any Yale universities in
image of
Cheshire,
here. It's
so-
pretty interesting though. So
To volunteer.
no. All right, so that's interesting. So again, the water usage, sewer usage, we in the time under more people working from home. New information.
Well, do you know if Scott got any word on his, I think he was looking to have the hours increased for an electrician?
Yeah, that didn't. No, yeah,
Okay.
that didn't get included. And basic, and probably the two items in the budget was I had recommended, and the town manager had recommended that my replacement be a full-time person, and they were going to split it 50-50, between WPCA and the town. And that was reduced also. So they basically have money in there for a part-time consultant, probably like maybe a day a week type consultant for that. So those are the kind of the two, those were the two changes to the budget that were recommended by the town manager.
All right, anything else, Walt?
No, that was it from the plant.
Yeah.
From my report, really just two things. Capital budget's still being discussed. The one item in there for the sewer is a new sewer vac truck. Hopefully they'll keep it in there. The existing one's about 20 years old. It's a pretty critical piece of equipment, to go around and keep mains flushed so you don't run into backups. So, oh, geez. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Yep, sorry. And I thought the whole meeting blew up.
So and sharing my screen. So this was the article.
Poop alert.
It was the poop alert. I don't know what.
Yep, it was there. Now it's gone.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
All right, there was. Let me show you there it is right there. See that? So the red is the sewage COVID, and the black is the detected cases. So it's very parallel, but just shifted over. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing when you look at that. So I'm not sure who we're going to task to go in for testing, but it's not going to be me. Again, you can fill my screen.
Well, you'd be the best person. You already had it, so you won't get it.
I'm good. Oh, this isn't me. This is,
I'm sharing the screen for you.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I see.
Oh.
You sent it to me, and so, yeah.
Okay, all right, fine. All right, yeah, so that's the image that was just. Okay, we're good on that. Thank you.
So,
All right, so we'll take more town engineer information in the next chapter. Item 6, new business. The only new business regarding the operation of our meetings is the town engineers pending retirement, I guess. you could
Yeah.
call it.
yeah, that's it.
And the impact that it may have on our ability to act on any applications or have an engineering review. That's something that has still yet to be determined, I believe. Walt, do you have any, I guess, can you give me
Yeah.
a plan or lack of one maybe that we have?
Well, the kind of the short version is, yeah, technically my last day is next Tuesday, June 30th. They have funded, like I say, a consulting firm on a part-time basis that would take on basically, consultation for town engineer matters, including WPCA. And maybe you can update me, but there was an RFP written to get that. I don't know if it's been advertised yet.
Not yet, but it will be. That's, yeah.
Okay.
We just
So-
want you to stay, Walter. That's
Yeah,
all.
I know. So, I've told George and company that, I will continue, maybe not as on it sounds crazy, one day a week is hardly a regular basis, but maybe even a less regular basis. So that so that the process can continue, but, kind of pointing out that I'm hoping there's some urgency to getting this out on the street and getting some firms interviewed and getting some folks in. I will say, the RFP's written around, multidiscipline firm, so that they do have wastewater expertise in-house along with, road, bridges, et cetera, so that, you'd get somebody that is familiar with, reviewing plans, et cetera. So I think, the short version is, likely, I don't see how this happens in less than a month. So, likelihood, I'll be the one reviewing anything that comes in for the July meeting. The only thing I will kind of give you a heads up on, at this point in time, we have tentatively had put down July 22nd, and for my dad's wake, he passed away a few months ago, but we've kind of put it off because of COVID. So, which happens to be the night of WPCA meeting. So, in all likelihood, although I would do reviews for that, if anything comes in, I wouldn't be at the meeting. And I will say there's probably one thing that I expect will come in for next month. That new medical office building being built at 750 West Johnson. It's kind of right as far out West Johnson as you can get. You go past the house, the doors, and keep going to bends around. It's right by 84. You can see it easily from 84. They still need to come in with their final design and award of capacity. I mean, they got half the steel up for the building. It'd be nice to actually get their their final.
So, regarding the next meeting, Ann, is it the town's intention to go back to?
So you can continue to go virtual if you'd like to, or you can go back to in-person as long as you stay under the numbers which your committee would. So you have a choice. You also probably have a choice next month if you wanted to do July 15th rather than waiting till the 22nd as well. Or,
Yeah.
working around.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I don't think you should move it up. I mean, that's kind of,
Yeah,
it doesn't
maybe.
give anybody much chance to get anything
No,
in.
we could move it to Thursday if we had to. I believe, as long as.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well,
And is there the ability to do a hybrid
What?
meeting where we would, have it at council chambers, but yet,
Absolutely. So you can, the next meeting could definitely be in person. And what happens is we just sit everybody socially distance. We set up the room
Okay.
ahead of time. You come into council chambers with your mask on and we have hand sanitizers available. So,
all right, we'll have to figure it out. I'm indifferent either way. I know that Steve will probably be the big guy who has to travel the farthest, so we'll have to file to his.
I can take that hardship.
Okay.
Hey, Walt, who would be responsible for hiring the engineering firm for this part-time?
yeah, well, obviously George is, the one, he's asked if I would sit in on the selection. I'd be happy to. It'd probably be him and, I don't know, Don or Dan. And I think it would probably be helpful to have Scott there too, since, this person's going to have some wastewater experience.
Okay,
Sounds like a plan. All right, so I think that's it for new business, right? Moving on to old business. Pastor Stan and the Calvary Life Church.
Okay, I
Oh, your
did.
letter.
Yeah, I did send out an email out to him because I know, Steve, you were the one that brought this up. It's kind of hanging out there. Basically because of, the COVID, not much has happened. He asked for another 90 days. I guess it's the committee's decision what they want to do. And I have reminded him that, it's not forgiven. The idea was, they paid a portion of it. And once we receive more information, then the WPCA would make a decision. So it doesn't sound like, they've come up with anything yet. He's asked for an additional 90 days. So it's up to you.
I'm not okay with the whole 90 days. I think there's no reason, if they believe they found some leaking pipes and some information there's no reason why they couldn't give us information in a more expeditious manner. Otherwise, we're not going to have much of an interest in acting on it, to let it keep lingering and lingering. So I don't know. Steve, what's your opinion?
well, I think my inclination is to be a good neighbor and say, yeah, there's been some pretty extenuating circumstances here, and things just haven't been getting done as quickly as you would like. I don't have a problem giving them another 90 days. I mean, we're not going to forget this, okay? So, and in the big scheme of things, $2,000 is of no pain to us. I would be inclined to give them their 90 days, but say, hey, look, it's the end of June now, so by our September meeting, we need a resolution, and you should be in touch with us before then to answer any questions we may have as to, what you determined was the problem, what responsibility do you have of that, for that problem? Are you asking for any forgiveness for any part of the fee, et cetera? So, to me, they should be feeding us information back, getting feedback back from staff, whether that be Walt or yourself, and be prepared to propose, a final answer at our September meeting.
But the way I understand it, Walt, is in the communication that I saw is that they did find a leaking pipe that was repaired, and that I was trying to get more information specifically on that, because that may help us too. Maybe come
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, I mean, right now they haven't frankly given any of us enough information to make any kind of
right.
technical assessment as to how much,
It's
how
in their
much
best
of it.
interest.
Yeah, so you need better information. I'm okay with Steve. You're right. I mean, it's not like, we have to have the money tomorrow to operate. So you give them the 90 days, but I think, we say basically in 90 days, prior to that, we want information submitted and we'll make a decision within 90 days, but we're not
Okay.
going to get another waiver. And if we don't get information in, we have no option but to, enforce the bill that's there.
How
Well,
how about,
can we draft a letter to them to memorialize that? I guess we
yeah, I
can make
mean,
a motion.
I was gonna say, how about we ask them the following? That we ask them for a detailed status update by our August meeting. And if they haven't quite finished, certainly a final resolution by our September meeting. So they
Okay,
can have September if they need it. I mean, we're talking, are we gonna give them a 30-day extension or a 90-day extension? To me, it doesn't make any difference. So the 90 days I'm okay with, but with an interim report back to the WPCA in August.
yeah,
I think
I
it's
think that's good.
I think it's a good plan. Yeah. Okay. So Walt, you'll draft that letter. Or
Sure.
you
I
know,
gotta have
it's fine.
something to do Monday when I go in.
And then there's an item on here, old business to RWA.
I think we were talking about North End, was that it?
Oh, the extension of the water.
I know there was an executive session at council last night, to talk about that. There is a proposal from Regional Water Authority that would call for extending water north of 691 with the proposal is for cost share to be between RWA, the developer, and the town has that. They're working on that option of getting the state land on the northeast quadrant, where basically they'd get a 5-year option on it. I guess that's basically what it is. I mean, they would have 5 years to market it, and if if they found someone to sell it, they could sell it to, with the proceeds going to the state. The whole benefit to the town would be they'd get an additional tax base. So there is a proposal that's being discussed between the parties for some cost sharing along with that. That's where we are in that. That's pertains to the development that, you have given preliminary approval for, to directional drill or hang a pipe on Dickerman Road to go to the West Johnson pump station. So
Right.
that's where it's at.
Okay. A lot of info here. All right. We got the flow information. We got the old business. We have our next item would be approval of the minutes. We're good. The minutes were very brief last time. Making a motion to approve the minutes submitted from the May 27th meeting.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the minutes of our meeting of May 27th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Jim. Are there any edits to the minutes that we see?
Not for mine.
Nor for mine. Okay, minutes approved as submitted. All in favor? Everyone votes positive. All in favor. Vote passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. My intent or wish would be that we would be able to all go out and to wish Walt a happy retirement again. But obviously under situations, I think maybe we'll try to wait till the next meeting sometime after that. And I mean, we sent the guy off a million times already. I don't know what else we can do here.
I think we
He
can,
probably deserves one more beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to
I
figure
think,
that out.
yeah, I think we can go have a beer sometime when we can go without masks or sitting 100 feet away from each other.
Good
Some of us might
idea.
like that though, from you.
Yeah, you might prefer it. You might do it as a Zoom one, and
Yeah.
save everybody trouble, Get counterweight or somebody to, donate a six pack
in.
and we'll just split it up.
Maybe a lot of truck driving around like the ice cream
Six pack,
truck.
how about a barrel?
Yeah.
I was just trying to get it equally divisible by people here.
All right, well, again, under the conditions,
And
thank you.
is your sense you would like to get together in person in July,
Um,
John?
I
I
think
think-
it's probably easier. I mean,
I
you
think-
get the whole council.
Yeah, I
chamber.
think it's easier too. I mean, I'd go
It's-
for it,
it's-
so.
there's plenty of room there. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with it personally, as long as everyone else is.
It's not like we have big audiences, so.
That's-
There's nobody's.
Just-
Yeah.
Just
I guess-
one note though, because we have limited rooms that have that type of space in those tables. So I don't know, so we'll have to do some jogging around a little bit because right now I'm asking the Public Building Commission to switch their meeting dates because both the PBC and the WPCA conflict on that last Wednesday. So
We do Thursday, yeah, Thursday the 23rd.
But
Yeah, I
isn't
mean,
it,
but-
it's not the last Wednesday, it's the fourth Wednesday.
yeah, right, and it does conflict. So
Oh,
each
it's the
month.
29th?
So we're trying right now to get the WPCA and or not WPCA, the PBC to switch their dates to
Our
be
next
earlier.
our next regularly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, July 22nd, correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And what happens though is there's several commissions meeting. And so we just have to make sure that we have the space available in chambers. That's all.
Yeah,
Can we
so why
see-
don't- once you
Well, we
have
try to
that,
do the 23rd because Walt's going to be tied up. If that's okay, Walt.
well,
we can-
23rd's no good either because the funeral is going to be the 23rd.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right. Well, that won't work. Then let's do the
Why
week after.
why don't we let Ann figure out what options
What's
we might
available.
have and let us
Yeah. Right.
know.
I don't know. We don't know what we're doing for vacation, so we'll have to figure that out too. but-
And then
Okay.
yep, so I think.
Okay.
why
Worst
don't
comes to
Ann
worst,
get-
we meet on the 22nd, Zoom, via Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
all
I'll
right.
send some options.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll work through it again. All right. Well, then I think that's it from my side. Everyone, thank you for attending. Jason, from your car.
I just noticed something too, that, this is my computer, but my wife uses it.
I've noticed the name has been bothering me the whole
Linda,
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, she uses it all these Zoom meetings for book clubs, et cetera. And so I come up as Linda Gankars. I don't know how that happens.
No, I think that's very appropriate.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
I'm
always-
just sure
I
about that.
always sign on with, as Ben Affleck whenever I go on with my friends.
Ben Affleck.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Jim,
All right.
Jim's been
Motion
in
to
like 5
adjourn.
different places for this meeting.
Motion to adjourn, I second.
Second. And all in favor? Good. Thank you. All right, everyone.
Aye.
Appreciate it. Stay
Bye,
safe.
thank you.
All right.
Right away.